Data subjects have a number of rights under the GDPR. Maybe to pick out some of the more sort of interesting ones. Very similar to the current regime, data subjects have a right to request the data that is held about them. It's called a data subject access request, and probably the most interesting thing about it that's changed is that in most circumstances data subjects no longer have to pay for it. Under the existing regime they had to pay about a tenner to get that data. The second one, the right to object to direct marketing. If you think about the logic, in order to receive direct marketing in most circumstances, data subjects will have given their consent. When you give consent, you also have the right to withdraw that consent. And so the right to object to direct marketing is quite central to the concept of GDPR. On a very similar level, but data subjects have a right to object to automated decision making. So if you think about a lot of platforms these days, the platforms themselves will make certain decisions without a human intervention. Data subjects have the right to object to that, although it is worth saying in many cases it will slow down or impair the way that the platform works. I think one of the most interesting and actually most problematic new rights is the right to be forgotten, the right of erasure. So this is the idea that a data subject can request in certain circumstances that personal data held by a business about them is deleted. Now, there are three circumstances where a business has to comply with that. The first one is where they're processing data unlawfully. So the best example of that might be they bought a dodgy, mailing list somewhere and they're sending people spam emails. They shouldn't have the data in the first place, they have to erase it. Second scenario would be where they're processing data when they no longer need to have it. So perhaps somebody's no longer a customer, they used to be a customer of the business, they've now left, a period of time has gone past, and they feel that the business should no longer have their data, they no longer need to have it. The final one is where the data subject withdraws their consent. So, as we said a moment ago, consent can be withdrawn freely by the data subject at any time. So where consent is the processing condition, they can withdraw that consent and require that data is deleted. Now, of course, this is really important for businesses to remember, because if they don't want to have to delete data at the request of the data subject, they need to use a processing condition other than consent. The final right is the right of data portability. Now, I compare this to the sort of open banking concept. So you probably know that in certain circumstances now, businesses can get APIs into sort of banking programs, and they can get access to, for example, transaction data. And there's a lot of businesses out there who are analysing transaction data to draw conclusions and do stuff with it. Data portability is a very similar concept. It's the idea that data subjects should be able to move their personal data between service providers nice and easily.